we are now live on YouTube too. So if you want to see a different angle of this beautiful face, go over to YouTube, check that live stream. We're really talking now. Really talking now. I'm going to type in to YouTube what the live stream is all about for people who join. All right. That's exciting. That's exciting. We're streaming on two fronts. It's fun because when I look over here, I see the front of my face. And then when I turn this direction, I still see the front of my face because YouTube. That's exciting. That's exciting. Okay. So, all right. Usually, the way that we like to start off these creative sessions, for those of you who are in here with us, typically what I like to do, and I preface this every time by letting people know you don't have to do this, but if you would like to, you can feel free to make yourself a to-do list of things that you'd like to get done tonight. Or if you're just working on one thing, well, then obviously you don't need a fucking to-do list, so don't do that. But remember, to-do lists don't always help. I make them every once in a while. If I have some things and I'm feeling a little scatterbrained and I need some sort of structure, but that structure does not always work. My brain doesn't work in the way that I guess people's brains normally work with lists and shit. So I usually just try to work on things as best as I can or as much as I can. Even if I have a list, it might not get done exactly, but you know, that's working on things. That's being creative. Although I guess if you're working on like work stuff, not having a to-do list might be tough. Might make things a little bit difficult. So tonight, I actually am not going to make a to-do list. Tonight, I specifically have to work on one thing. I have to work on a blog post that I'm supposed to finish for my job. I had initially decided on what the blog post was going to be, but I decided against that idea. I still might write it out later. The idea was just about sort of the way that classical art forms don't often lend themselves to innovation because they are steeped in traditionalism. They're very about making sure that you have that you are following the exact rules of what that art is. So a lot of the times with like opera, you know, things are written a certain way and you really have to follow that, or you know, the composer intended for the singers to be of this style or of this voice, and if you vary from that, then a lot of the times there's a lot of critics who are not very accepting of that idea of sort of that innovation. And so traditionalist art forms typically, you know, they're not very open to change, and because of that they're not super open to like brown and black people. They're not super open to making changes or having women be the leads of certain things, because and for the most part, I mean, it's probably still just racism, but it goes back to this idea of people, you know, wanting to keep things the way that they had initially started, the way that they were before. But that's difficult to do, especially in opera, because castrati used to be a thing. And if you don't know that term, castrati are boys that were castrated at a young age when their voice was just the right tone. And it's not a thing that we should do anymore. I'm sure maybe somewhere in like Germany and Italy where these art forms initially started, that is probably still a thing. I wouldn't fucking doubt it. Maybe somewhere deep. I've actually thought about writing a horror story based on that premise alone. The idea of like an evil opera company or something that is, you know, castrating boys or like, you know, is castrating people and trying to get them to right, Devante. But the idea is to like, yeah, is to just make it a horror movie where that's sort of the main theme. But it feels super fucked up because it involves children, and that's probably not the best. I'm sure people are upset about that. People wouldn't want to make a horror movie that's all about kids being castrated. Although I think it would be pretty cool. And honestly, I don't even know what the story would be. I'm kind of just being castrated, but that is not what I want to do live streams. So I actually I've been writing a couple of horror things. Tavante, I haven't gotten to tell you any about any of them, but I've been really excited about. There's this idea that happened recently. um, I had this nightmare. I had this really crazy nightmare. I think Ghetto. I told you about this, but I had this really crazy nightmare where Thank you, Devonte. Adults with children. That is exactly the support that I'm looking for that film because you make a difference. Not only do you have kids and can tell me what kids do, you can also help me paint the most realistic description of them being castrated. So, hooray! But I've been writing a lot of horror stuff lately. I've actually been really enjoying it. So I was gonna say I started this horror story. Sean, again, I told you a little bit about this, but the idea for this horror story that I had started was it came from real life because I used to like lucid dream a lot and I used to be able to sort of control my dreams, and I was really excited about that. I always had a lot of fun while I was dreaming. Well, recently I had I had this crazy nightmare where I was running through the police. God, what is it called? I was running from. Thank you, Sean. I was running from the police. I was in the police mansion from Resident Evil 2, and for whatever reason, I was being chased down by what's his face, the crazy asshole, Mr. X, I believe is his name. I haven't played the game in a long time. I didn't play the remake, but he's this big lumbering figure. And within the dream, at some point, I got so scared, like it's a nightmare. I got so scared that I kind of like woke my brain up, and I was able to like lucid dream again. And I haven't done it in a long time, so I was able to like walk around in the stream, and I started sort of being less scared and being able more to like manipulate and like move around and like try and get away from him. But I wasn't like fully in it, so I didn't have any way that I could fight back. And he kept like following me. Same way in the game, like he'll follow you to like safe zones, like in any Resident Evil game. If you get to like the save room, like and he's like right on your ass, he'll just like leave and go away and be like, "Oh, I can't go in there." So I was sort of like running into save rooms or whatever and trying not to get killed by this guy. And I In the dream, I was like, when I woke up, I was like, oh man, I haven't been able to lucid dream in a while. So the premise of the story became this guy who hasn't been able to lucid dream since he was a kid, when he was like fighting the nightmares that he used to have, decides that he wants to um, basically like fight his dreams again, or go lucid dreaming so that he can go back in and sort of fight all these nightmares. And he does so by watching, like loading himself up on like horror movies, horror video games, like classic horror cinema, like all of these things to just like overload his mind into like super fear so that he can keep having nightmares. And he wants to have these nightmares so that he can wake his brain up to like a certain extent while he's lucid dreaming, or while he's dreaming, so that he can become lucid. And he winds up doing it. He winds up immersing himself in so much scary shit that like his brain keeps waking him up at night in just enough of an amount that he can actually what is it called, that he can actually lucid dream. So he starts lucid dreaming real hard. He starts like making sure to write down his dreams, and he's doing all these things. And as he's living through his dreams, every single time basically that he has like a really intense lucid dream, he's fighting this like nightmare that is like an amalgamation of all the horror things he's been watching, but that is like connected to an old nightmare creature that used to haunt his dreams. Because back in the day, it wasn't like monsters that were very popular. Back in the day, it was these monsters who were made up inside his mind. And so he goes through the story. I wanted this first book to sort of be him going back into his lucid dreams and banishing all of these like evil creatures that he's created from his mind. Just because for him it feels like a game. It feels very like liberating and exciting, and he's ready to like take on his dreams again. And he feels in these dreams that he's like living a way better life than he's living in his real life. So his life is sort of like depressing and in shambles, and he's like struggling to pay rent and doing all this stuff. And so when he goes into his dreams, he's like a completely different person. He's this like hero, and he's able to save himself from all of these like creatures that he's created in his mind. But you find out at the end of the book, or at least this is sort of where I wanted it to go, that as he's been banishing these creatures, and his life has just been getting a little bit better, because in some sense he's actually banishing like the terrible things inside of him, like his guilt and his shame and all the stuff that came with like his childhood trauma. He's been banishing these monsters out that represent these things, and he's feeling better about his life. But as you're sort of seeing him feel better, you're noticing like news reports and stuff in the world that show that these creatures are actually like have been banished from his brain and into the real world. And so now they are, basically they've become the cryptid creatures that so many people are very like obsessed with. They're in real life and they're killing people, and police all around the world are trying to figure out what the hell is going on. These people are dying and they've got these crazy gashes and all these crazy cuts and shit. So he's reading little bits of this until he finally banishes the last monster. And as he does this, there's like a glimpse, like a short video or something that's on YouTube that's going viral, and he sees this creature that's running through the forest or whatever some people filmed, and the creature itself is he recognizes it immediately because it's one of the monsters that he fought in his brain, and he realizes that he had like manifested all of these real creatures through the pain and the trauma that he'd felt that he had never really dealt with and that he still wasn't really dealing with in a healthy way. So I wanted the book to stop there at that realization that he had released all these monsters onto the world, and then I wanted it to be a series. I wanted each book to be him, like a little bit of a different style of horror. Each one would be sort of different, and they would all have to do with him going to this different country and banishing these monsters back into his brain, back into his body. And by the very last one, it would be like a metaphor for him actually having gone out and dealt with those issues that he was feeling, but it'd just be like a horror movie metaphor. I was very excited about the idea. I'm still writing it out. I'm still trying to write all the little details and shit. But I think it sounds pretty awesome. So that's exciting. For anybody who's just joining us, this is our study hall style creative session. We will be writing, creating, working on whatever it is we need to work on. And you can let us know what it is you're working on in any of the chats. We are also on YouTube. You can find me on YouTube at Fernando Antonio Montejano. Actually, I think it's just Fernando A. Montejano. But either way, you'll be able to find me. I am live. And we can keep it rocking. But all right, I'm going to start working on some stuff, as you should be working as well, my friends. What are all of my viewers out there working on tonight? What kind of stuff you guys got going on? Drop it in the chat or drop a Dorito in the chat if you're just working on stuff and you don't feel like talking about it. That is totally fine too. Where'd my Red Bull go? I need energy. Energy. I shouldn't be drinking Red Bulls. They're not good for you. But I didn't know what else to drink to get energies. Oh. All right. So if you guys are out there, you're working on things. Like I said, leave it in the chat if you want to talk about it, if you want to let us know what it is you're working on. I am going to be working on this blog post for my job. I got to finish it tonight. The blog post specifically, I think, is just going to be about I think about the way that music, because it's for the radio. I think it's going to be about the way that music impacts people's mental health. But I'm still trying to figure out how I want to start it off. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for the like on YouTube, my friends. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Okay. All right, I'm just going to jump into it. I'm going to start writing it, see how it goes. If you're just joining us, study hall style creative session. Work on whatever you want. Throw it in the chat. Let us know what you're working on. Or if you'd like a prompt from me for something to work on, I can do that. I've got lots of prompts, lots of creative prompts to get you going on whatever projects it is you're working on right now. Thanks for joining. Thanks for liking. Thanks for chatting. I currently am working on some creative writing. Hmm. Hmm. I'm struggling a little bit. Viewers, I'm struggling. I'm not sure. Not sure how to start this off. I had a good idea. I guess I'll talk it out. Let's see if we can figure it out through talking with each other. Through talking with each other. Okay. Hey Noni. Hello, hello. We're on YouTube today as well. You get a different angle. Tavante and Sean were here. I don't think they are now though. We're just getting started. I am working on the blog post. I'm going to finish it tonight, but I changed topics. So I'm trying to figure out how to approach this new topic. It's not like it's a tough topic to write. I think I'm just kind of brain blocked. Brain blast. But I hope you're doing well. Hope everybody's having a good night. Are you working on things tonight, Noni? Or are you just chilling? Chilling in the chat. That's nice, Tony. That's nice. Ain't nothing wrong with big chilling on the stream. Nothing wrong at all. So I think technically the blog post has to relate back to uh, classical music and the radio station that I work at. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start it off uh, because again the topic is the way that music the way that music affects our mentality, the way that music affects our mental health, things like that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it off with sort of the evolution of how I came to like a lot of the things that I liked, because my dad, even though I don't speak with him now, was a huge influence on the things that I was doing back in the day. He was a huge influence on specifically the way that I take in art and the way that I enjoy the things that I do, because he introduced me to so many of them. My dad introduced me to all the films that I watch. He introduced me to all the music that I listen to, and even though he himself wasn't a fan of stuff that I started listening to past that, like things that my interests evolved into, he still was the person who sort of sparked me wanting to take in more art. So even though it started with like movies, and it was like cowboy movies, things with like Clint Eastwood and stuff like that, it started as a really sort of vague interest in like pop culture films like those, and it moved on from there. It moved on to this really big love for media and film and art of all different kinds. So I think I want to start this blog post with that idea. I want to start it off with sort of the evolution of how I finally got to classical music and sort of what it did for me. I'm not saying that like classical music in general was this like, oh, it's such an incredible thing that made me feel so great and so inspired and whatever. Like classical music is an art form of the past, and I respect it same as anything else. I think more than anything, classical music on its own is not like my favorite thing, but I do like the way that you can tell stories with classical music and opera. It is this for me. It is a really intimate mix of poetry and classical music that creates these very dramatic and intense sometimes stories where people are being hurt, people are being betrayed. It's like telenovelas or fucking what are they called, soap operas. Before soap operas were a thing. I wouldn't doubt, actually. I haven't watched like Days of Our Lives or All My Children in like years and years and years, but I'm sure that at this point, I wouldn't have remembered, but maybe like there were opera plots within those that are just, they were played out as soap operas. I could see it happening because it makes sense. But who the fuck knows? I certainly do not. That is not a history that that I have delved into whatsoever. But that's, I guess that's how it goes. Um, so yeah, I think that's where I'm going to go with the blog post. I think that's where I'm going to go. But I also wanted to share with you viewers, those of you who are on here listening. So I'm actually really excited about this project that I'm starting with a friend. It was one that we had started a while ago, but they were not in the best place. So we were waiting until they felt a little bit more comfortable and secure to be able to start it. And the project itself is pretty awesome. It is sort of this exploration of Hispanic machismo culture. This idea in a lot of Hispanic cultures or Hispanic households and families where you're really not. You're not allowed to go against the norm, and this idea of doing that, this idea of like trying to do something different that isn't traditional, is always seen with a lot of contention. It's always seen with a lot of like a lot of people who get really upset about that idea. So we wanted to write about three separate experiences in sort of the Hispanic culture that are like completely different, that are not the Hispanic culture type. I guess not. I don't want to say stereotypes, because now you're seeing a lot more of Hispanic culture and Hispanic families sort of portrayed in pop culture. But the idea that we wanted was these three different perspectives that are I think pretty unique, that haven't really been shown intensely. So my segment is specifically about my foray into the arts and the way that that sort of was not a traditional thing for my family, and the way that that pushed me away from my dad. So that story will be told more through me and my dad's relationship and the way that he introduced me to all these things that I really love, and how it was like a big part of our relationship, and how that specifically drove the wedge between us, and forced me to see that like my family would never really support what I was doing, not until I was successful, because that's how my family was. So until it made me money, until it gave me something that I could like be substantially, that would help me financially, that would be something that would make them really proud. But it wasn't the idea that it made me happy or that I was passionate about it. And so that was going to be my part of the story, as well as dealing with mental health, because I had a lot of issues with PTSD, and I was never able to get a lot of help for that when I was younger, because my parents were like, "Well, no, that shit doesn't exist. Like fucking mental health, what?" Um, and so the stories are gonna the story is going to revolve around that for my segment. For my other friend's segment, it's going to revolve around them being part of the queer trans community, and how that was a really obviously big fight, between them and their heritage as well. And then the other person is going to be writing one that's about them. It's about like cannabis, mostly because they went to work in cannabis. They're an actor as well, so it's going to involve a lot of elements of that, in the Hispanic culture too. So I mean, I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a really fun, cool project. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Those of you just joining us, anybody who's hanging out on the stream right now, this is just my creative sesh, my live stream for me to get work done or to just talk to you guys about creative things for a little bit. It is a study hall style creative sesh, so you can be doing whatever you want to. You could be watching TV if you wanted to. You can just be chilling and talking in the chat with our viewers, or you can be working on your own things and doing what you need to do, getting some stuff done. I'm not judging you. I am just saying you're totally allowed to do what you'd like while we are here together. My main goal is to just hold these spaces and keep them open so that anybody who wants to come and chit chat and work on things and not feel like guilty about taking a second to turn over and like talk to a couple friends, like that's what this is for. Hang out. Don't feel guilty about taking your time to work on stuff, and just feel good. Be great. Thank you guys for joining us. Damn, we got D Manny in the house on YouTube. Thanks for joining us, D. And thank you, all you viewers on Twitch who are here and hanging out. Throw it in the chat. Let me know what you guys are working on tonight. And if you're not working on anything, don't worry about it. We're all big chilling here. You can chill, or you can work on your art, or you can work on whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're allowed to do what you want. Do what you want. Sorry, please don't leave because of that. As stated before, I am working on a blog post, or at least trying to. I'm trying to put together the pieces of what I want to do for this post. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go, but hey, Noni in the chat, she says she's working on this cup of green tea. Hey, yo. That's fair. That's fair. I hope you're enjoying your tea. Anybody else who's too afraid to chat, I hope you are enjoying yourself as well. Love yourself. You deserve it. Maybe. I don't know who you are, but maybe you don't deserve it. Maybe you're fucking terrible. For now, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. I'm assuming that you're great. Smile and wink. Somebody put a ding there. All right. I guess we're pumping this blog post out little by little. I don't need it to be too long, you know? I think it only has to be like, I think 1,000 words maybe. So I can definitely finish it before the night is over, but I'm I'm not focused. Not focused. What do you guys do to focus? Drop it in the chat. Let me know. Let me know what kind of shit you're doing. So let me know what sounds better. I'm trying to decide here. The wording is what I'm asking about. So either before I really had any interests of my own, uh, which I think sounds okay, or would this be better? Before I was old enough to have any interests of my own. Does that sound more appealing? I think that one does. I think that sounds better. Before I was old enough to have any interests of my own. What up out there, Twitch viewers? Hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being creative with us. Drop a Dorito of the chat in the chat if you're having a good time, if you're working on stuff. Or if you're in the zone, don't take a break to drop a Dorito in the chat. That might just make you less productive. So don't do that. Thank you, Noni. Thank you for your Dorito. You dirty Dorito dame. That's what I'd say if Doritos existed in the 1920s. Although maybe they did. Holy shit, let me check that real quick. When were Doritos invented? Does anybody just have that knowledge off the top of their head? Huh. Here's something I didn't know. Doritos were invented in Disneyland. Because some restaurant was throwing away stale tortilla chips, and so they decided, hey, let's not waste those stale tortillas. Let's turn them into chips that other people will eat. That's fucking great. It was 1964, Tavante. So yeah, not the 20s. That was wrong on me, in my part. Still though. Thank you, Noni. Dorito. So okay. So in the 20s, no rugged, off the force detective would be calling you a dirty Dorito dame, because Doritos wouldn't have existed unless Dorito is a part of the world, and then maybe if you came from that place. I could see like, some 1950s, a hard boiled cop calling you that. Although at that point, I'd imagine it might be racist if he's like a white 1920s dude who's calling you a dirty Dorito dame. I imagine the dirty is probably derogatory. Dirty, derogatory Dorito dame. You know, alliteration. That's exciting. That's part of the creative sesh, right? Alliteration. I think. Okay. I think we're making good progress, gang. How's everybody feeling about their own projects? You guys doing well? You procrastinating a lot? Hello, hello, everybody out there in viewerland. Hope you're doing well in our study hall creative session. Feel free to use the chat to let me know what you got going on tonight. Thank you for being part of our stream. You're wonderful. You're beautiful. Your eyes shine like diamonds that haven't been created yet. The black coals, soulless. You're evil, is what I'm saying. Evil and beautiful all at the same time. Remember, viewers, we are here until 10 o'clock. So as of now, the time that I have is 7:56. So we will go for about 2 more hours writing, working, whatever it is you gotta do to get stuff done. That's what we're here for. A little bit of focus. If you are working on things, put your phone down, stop scrolling, work on stuff. That doesn't mean that you are scrolling for sure, but if you're on your social media, get off and work on the thing you got to work on, okay? That's what we're here for. That's what 7 to 10 is for. It's for working. It's not for playing, says the guy who's streaming on multiple social media apps and talking instead of working on things. It's pretty exciting, though. I'm excited for this to kind of build up, too, you know? I hope that more people will start joining us, and if we do this consistently, that, you know, we get a group of people who are really excited about sharing their work and, you know, working together in general. I think it's exciting. I think Gilbert said, what's it called? Body doubling, right? When you have like, I don't know, two people hanging out together and you just like work on things. It makes it easier sometimes. I think if I can get this first paragraph like down, fully down, it doesn't feel right now. But if I can get this first paragraph down, then I think I can transition into the rest of the blog pretty easily. It's just not coming to me. It feels right. It feels like it's right there around where it needs to be. But something doesn't feel right about it. I'm going to read it to you guys. Nobody has to respond. Nobody's been responding, which I appreciate because it means you guys are working, maybe. But this is what it sounds like so far. And then I'm probably going to change this. I don't like the wording exactly, but I'm just trying to get it out so that I can push forward and get through it. But it starts like this. And remember, the idea is that we evolve from this into more different styles of art and different styles of music specifically, and the way that they affect our mood and the way that they help us sometimes get through things or experience things more deeply, I suppose. Whatever it is that you think the appropriate feeling would be to go with this. So it starts like this. I remember riding down the road on a rainy day before I was old enough to have any interests of my own, and the song Riders on the Storm by the Doors was playing. My dad liked a theme. When it rained, he would play this or Rain Song by Led Zeppelin. If he was in a really excited mood, then maybe he would play harder rock and roll or metal. Maybe he would play hard rap if he was really energetic. My dad had a lot of moods, and music seemed to play into all of them. And from there, I wanted to sort of expand out on this idea of how music fits the moods, how music fits the brain in that sense, and more so than anything, of the way that it really like compels you when things feel a certain way, and the way that it can exacerbate that feeling, or it can resolve that feeling. You know, if you feel sad, if you feel shitty, sometimes listening to music can really change that. It can help you work through those emotions and those feelings. So I think that's where I want to go with it, but maybe that sucks. I don't know. I'm just gonna keep writing, and we'll see where we get by the end of this. I still have a couple hours. I'll probably keep working on this even beyond the 7 to 10 timeline because I got a lot of shit to do. I gotta get this thing done. I actually like the way it's coming together. I'm feeling good about it. Hmm. Mm, okay. I think I have a pretty solid first paragraph here that sort of leads into maybe. So this is the first paragraph now, and I think I'm gonna use movies and the way the music highlights mood in scenes to open up into the rest of the art forms that really heavily involve music. So like classical music, opera. It has to come back to classical music or opera at some point. Like it has to, only because the vlog is for a classical music radio station. So at some point the blog post has to come back to classical music. So it's going to get there, and it's going to get there through the history of film, which to me is more accessible, which makes more sense to me, especially since I work with a bunch of like classical musical, like people who are trained in classical music and who know a lot more than I do, like people who like teach classical music. So I'm not trying to write a blog post about classical music that'll make me look like a fucking fool. Um, I'm just trying to write this blog post. So this is the first paragraph. I remember riding down the road on a rainy day, before I was old enough to have any interests of my own, and the song Riders on the Storm by the Doors was playing. My dad liked the theme. When it rained, he would play this or Rain Song by Led Zeppelin. If he was in a really excited mood, then maybe he would play harder rock and roll or metal. Maybe he would play hard rap if he was really energetic. My dad had a lot of moods, and music seemed to play into all of them. And this was something that grew on me. From a young age, my dad also introduced me to film. Away from the radio, I was still taking in art, and in film, there was even more music. The thing I picked up on immediately was that music set a mood. Music was used in film to heighten emotions already being portrayed by the actors, but it was also used to highlight emotions that may not be immediately present. For instance, if a bad guy was disguised as a good guy and we didn't know about it yet, the music might swell in a scene that otherwise feels innocuous and innocent. I was realizing that music and mood were almost one and the same. And as a young kid, that was a huge revelation for me. Fast forward a few years, and here I am now, thinking I fully understand the subtleties in the way music can convey mood. And then I think from there, it'll jump to again more of the ideas of how music is used in so many different instances in so many different ways, because even in film it's used in a pretty straightforward way. I think it can be used in more advanced ways in film and stuff like that, but I think you get more into the ideas of like really intense subject matter as far as like scripts go and shit like that. So I mostly wanted to heighten or highlight the way that it's more obvious, like in plays, and then in opera and on the stage like that, because typically the music is a lot bigger. It's intentionally a certain way. You're supposed to understand immediately the feelings that are being portrayed on stage. So it makes sense to go into it that way. This is all still work in progress. None of this paragraph feels weird to me. So it's a good start. It's where I need to be. And then I'm going to move forward from there. Once I have the full thing together, I'll edit and make sure that it sounds a lot better. But for now, I don't hate that. I don't hate that. So I think we'll keep going with that idea. I like it. All right. Once again, viewers, I hope you're all doing well. Hope you're doing good. Tonta, you still out there? Did you leave? Are you gone now? Gone for good. Out of my life. Mm. I said, did Tavante leave? Because he was in the chat for a bit. He might be gone already. Or maybe he's on YouTube. I don't know. Looks like I got one viewer on YouTube. Hello, viewer. Hi there. Mm, Okay. I almost wonder what my latency is like, you know, like how long it takes for me to say something before somebody hears it. I feel like it's not that long, just based on the chat and how quickly people respond to stuff. But I think there's a little bit of latency, probably. I'd imagine so. Hmm. I wonder if I'm overthinking this blog post. I probably am. Hmm. Okay. So let's knock out the second paragraph. So the first paragraph sets up this idea of music and mood and the way that it exists in different forms of art. And then I want the second paragraph to expand on that, but to stay in the realm of classical music. And I think that's a little tougher, maybe, because uh, classical music has a lot of nuance to it. There's a lot of emotion that's portrayed sometimes in just one song, as you know you move from part to part, and so there's a difference too, I think, because a lot of classical music comes from a different time, a different era, where sometimes a different sound meant something different than what it means to us. Different tones, different chords, especially when it comes to classical music itself. So that's interesting, and that was sort of going to be one of the points of the whole thing was that I keep learning and finding out different ways that people utilize music and emotion, and it gets confusing. It really does. But I think what I want to end up at is the way that music can affect mood positively. And I think even though like I'm writing and I've got a flow, I haven't found that connection yet. Like I haven't figured out where the piece is going to connect to the point that I want it to end up at. Which means maybe I should have outlined this first and done something with a little bit more what's it called, structure, probably. But that's okay. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out as we go. It'll wind up really good, I'm sure. But I'm struggling right now. I'm struggling. Throw a Dorito in the chat if you support the struggle and you want it to end quickly. Um, Okay, let's just push through with it. Let's push through with the second paragraph and see what we come up with. If you are watching us on YouTube right now, I also live stream on Twitch and I stream games. I think soon we're going to start streaming more games, maybe even. So if you ever want to watch us play some Apex, get a couple dubs, kind of, we're pretty bad at it. You can watch that too. Hmm. As your reminder, if you're working on stuff and you're not trying to procrastinate, get off your phones, stop scrolling, keep on working, keep on pushing, make those money moves, start getting paid for your work. But also, I'm not your boss, so if you're scrolling, that's cool too. It's your time. Use it how you need it. It's funny that I'm writing about music and mood. I didn't even think about this until just now. I just finished watching the first 3 episodes of Peacemaker on HBO because I'm a big fucking nerd. And it's created by James Gunn, who did the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. So within a lot of the scenes that happen, there's a lot of music. There's a lot of music used in different moments, and the way that they typically throw it in there. I mean, James Gunn uses like tons of old school music and like a lot of different ways. Like even in Guardians, obviously, there's a yeah, possibly, Sean. If I get enough of this done, I think if I can get like half of the words that I need before I'm done here, then then totally I'm down to stream some Dying Light. Um, but yeah, yeah, because James Gunn uses music so often to convey moods and to do a whole bunch of different shit like that. I think it typically, you get to this point where you have to start you doing it in more exciting ways. It took me a second to understand that, Sean. Uh, yeah, you have to do it in more exciting ways. You have to, like if you've used music in some crazy fight scene, you can't just keep doing it like that. Like it's cool, it's fun, but that's gonna get old and people are gonna get it. So I think it's really interesting the way that they've used music in Peacemaker. It's not like the fucking, it's not like a piece of art or anything. It's not like some masterpiece, but it's really good, especially for a DC project, which has unfortunately not had the best luck portraying its superhero universe very well. Uh, but James Gunn seems to have been like really excited about sort of the characters that he's portraying and the way that he uses music to show what they're feeling. And especially again in this one, it's even more. I think it works. It's more applicable than even with like Star Lord, because Star Lord, he has got this whole playlist and he's doing all these fun things. But Peacemaker for sure like uses this music in a way that's much more intimate. I think it's like much more personal because it's like a character study of this like superhero as opposed to Guardians, which is just this big story of these heroes all coming together and doing these things. So it's not necessarily just about Peter Quill. I mean, it is in a lot of it. There's a very big Peter Quill balance. It's like really heavy on that, but for the most part, that's not like the only focus. The focus is the rest of the team too, and the dynamics that they all have together. Whereas like Peacemaker has some of that because of the team that he works with, but for the most part, it's just the way that the way that he reacts to the situations around him and the way that they use music like that. And they kind of show the music sort of happening like in his head, but at the same time outside. So you get to experience those two different levels of the way that like he is really experiencing the music and then the way that the scene experiences the music, which I think is just one of those fun, it's like a writing thing. You'll see it in film, you'll see it in TV shows, even if the TV shows aren't like the best written, like the best, they're not the most well written thing in the world. Like there's still context, there's still subtle things that writers do and that they add into stuff. And half the times a movie or a TV show is bad because of the studio and not because of the writing. That's something that we've seen over and over and over again in like pop culture history is writers putting stuff in and then studios being like, well, people probably aren't going to vibe to this, so let's change it. And then people don't vibe to that either. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? If you're just joining us, viewers, we are in study hall mode, study hall creativity mode. We're gonna take a quick break actually, because I'm just realizing that I got to do one thing real quick, including use the restroom. So I will be right back, friends. Everybody, stay tuned. You know, it'll be okay. I don't think I can like pause anything, so it's just gonna keep on rolling as I walk away. But that doesn't mean that I am out or done. It just means that I am gonna be right back. Yeah. Okay. Hold on a second. Oh, Sean, if you can hear me, I don't know if you're still on the stream. You definitely left your Dr. Pepper over here. I still gotta use the restroom. I'll be right back, guys. Hey, I am back, friends. I am back. Hopefully, you're all doing well. Who all do we got in the chat right now? Twitch says we got 3 viewers, but I don't know how accurate that is. So I don't really know. I don't really know if I actually got 3. Y'all creeping? Get ready. Big water alert. Stay hydrated, y'all. Stay hydrated every day. Damn it. Coughing, that means I got the COVID. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm COVID. JK, I'm not COVID. Hope everybody's working hard out there. Hope you're enjoying your time on the stream. And I know it's pretty simple, pretty boring, but it helps me focus. So if you guys like being here, then we can be here together, focusing on stuff, focusing. Okay. So I finished another paragraph. I like where it's moving. Still not entirely sure about it. But because I did that, I'm going to I'm gonna take a celebration break. Celebration break. Not really. It's not celebrating anything because I don't have that much written. I guess it's just a brain break for myself. I've been trying to practice my poems more. Read different poems, but I like to practice my poems. I like to read my poems when I get time, especially if they're poems that are not like written in a very big way. Because I like to do lots of different kinds of poetry. Some poetry that is like science fiction stuff. It's more objective poetry, and then I like writing page poetry, stuff that is simple in stanzas, fits more on the page than it does like reading it out loud. And then I like to write, bigger poems where the idea is that I'll be reading it out loud, and it'll be this really intense thing. But I don't get to read a lot of these poems out loud very often, even the ones that are just meant for the page. And I really enjoy it. I really enjoy getting to read these poems out loud because they're not made for reading out loud. They're made more for, I guess, to sit on the page and look pretty. But I like trying to read them at least, and maybe like putting voices to them, or just seeing if there's something within these poems that could be bigger or that could exist better. Um, so one I wanted to read actually that I've been working on that I'm trying to expand a little bit. It initially was not meant as like a story. It was meant more as a poem that would take place within the story. Uh, and so I kind of want to read that one a little bit. I don't think anybody's actually on the stream right now, so I'm just gonna read and see how that goes. So let me know if you like it. This is again, it's an older one that I've edited up and I've made sure it sounds better. Um, but I don't know. I know I think I still need to do more to it, and I intend on it. I'm going to do more to it. But here's the poem. It is, I guess, ghetto. If you're listening, you've read this one before. Um, this is called catastrophic population loss. So, for context, this is an android living on Mars. Colonization has happened on Mars, and they've been living there successfully for a long time. There's a whole, cities and different places all over. Uh, things have been terraformed. It's been made safe for human beings to live there, and there's also a lot of artificial AI. And at this point in time, this is actually the first android senator to be allowed onto the Federation's councils. So he is forced to go down and find out what happened to the Earth. It's being tagged as a catastrophic population loss event, in which lots of people on Earth have died. So not on Mars, but on Earth. And so they're sending somebody down to figure it out. But the reports that they've received is that what's happening is the rapture. That they believe that there really is some celestial force taking away all these people. And so this is the android senator going down days after things have sort of stopped, and figuring out what exactly is going on in this place. And because he is a robot, he's an artificial intelligence. He doesn't have a lot of perspective on faith, specifically on the idea of God, and so he's trying to figure it out. He's walking through the town and he thinks that maybe as he goes through it, that he's going to gain some connection to that faith, to the idea that humans had, put into it. And he doesn't really understand anything that's happening. He doesn't understand why people are so upset. And for the most part, I think he's just kind of confused because life is kind of driven to a halt because of this on Earth One. And what he's seeing around him is a lot of people who have lost so much faith that they can't bear moving forward. And so the Earth is kind of like in a standstill, as people of all different backgrounds are trying to come to terms with what has occurred. Uh, because even people who believed in different religions were raptured. Um, so everybody's kind of trying to figure out exactly what has occurred here, what exactly is the big deal. And he comes onto the scene, and this is an entry from his diary that was supposed to be poetic for him. It's poetic. And there are a lot of ideas that I really enjoy in this, specifically the idea that a being that doesn't feel the way that we do, that has no real connection to this idea of like faith, and everything inside of them, for the most part, is programmed, and they understand that, and they understand that they are experiencing more things as their consciousness continues to evolve, and so they're a little bit like plain with the way that they see things, but they're starting to draw connections to metaphors, to ideas, to the way that humanity can attach itself to something and feel for it. And he's starting to sort of get that as he moves through more of these tasks and more of these things that the Federation sends him to do, because they're kind of upset with him. He, in general, in the bigger story, he is sort of a metaphor for like LGBTQ rights and stuff like that, because he's trying to gain he's trying to be I mean, honestly, he's a metaphor for any marginalized group, really, because he's trying to gain their trust, and he's trying to show them that, like, people from this android culture are not enemies. They all want the same thing that everybody else wants, which is just, freedom, and to live on their own and to do their own thing, and to be represented in population, to know that they're a part of this, and to feel like they're home. So he comes to this place knowing that he's been sent here, kind of as a joke. Like, they're not really, a lot of the people on Earth 2 are not super interested in what's going on Earth 1 anymore. And so they don't really give a shit about it. And they send him because of that, because he, it's just it's another way to get him out of the Federation Council rooms, and not have to deal with his bullshit. So this is the poem. Through the glass of the transport unit, I watched Earth 1 spinning subtly as if nothing had occurred. The glass didn't fog from my breath, and I wondered how science had spared such a scarcity of human existence from my already artificial body. No moisture for fog, lips breathing in and out the air of a ghost. What is faith? What if not an excuse to understand that which has no explanation? They say that out there, Earth is an extravagant place. Jesus walks. His Father has called the souls of the worthy to the kingdom of heaven, and I must say I'm far more confused than I thought possible. My programs have always led me to believe that I can believe what I'd like, though I know logically I'm inclined to believe the parameters set before me. The difference between faith and programming is human. I stepped off the ramp and onto the street to a somber, empty town. Is this what rapture felt like? I crossed streets with cars parked in the middle of the road, realizing quickly that those left behind had given up. The rain fell silently, each drop visible through the sun behind the clouds. The horizon donned an orange layer of pride. A slow thunder rumbled calmly between the buildings, long and calm and low. I waited hours for a glimpse of this savior, knelt before light from behind the passing clouds like descriptions and images in old texts show. I felt no warmth other than my own, no grandiose display of miracle or prophecy. I was not whisked away on a beam of light. No voices spoke to me. And those left wept, some believers accusing themselves of being unworthy, others just people paying no mind to those bodies that had ascended. And some even seemed to forget. They just couldn't remember that any of it had happened. It was nothing like the Bible told. No horsemen, no apocalypse, no plague. Worship to the Lord wasn't necessary. People willing to speak with me their eyes cried tears of jealous anguish and hopelessness. A priest shouted of Babylon. Calm onlookers passed and continued walking. Strange to send me, of all the Federation, to survey this. Confusion leads me through this entire trip. I entered the transport unit and watched the clouds from around the setting sun. My mind flashed to an image I'd seen in old religious texts, beams of light cutting through the dust and the air. The clouds overtook the sun as we began to pass through them. The transport unit rumbled like thunder, long and calm and low. It wasn't, but the difference between the two is human. Yeah. So I think I really, really enjoyed this piece. I think I liked the idea of him sort of surveying this thing that he doesn't understand, that to anybody else would be this like this very terrible thing, this very terrible situation that has occurred, and not necessarily terrible, I guess, because technically what's happening is that people are going, to heaven, and so that's great, good job. That's heaven, you win. But I think I like the idea that like he doesn't understand this difference between humanity and between just like basic things like the idea of metaphor. This idea that he says that the way that it ends, his reference to the thunder that he hears cutting through the buildings earlier, that is sort of mixed with this very somber image of the town where all the people are dead. And anybody else who's left has basically just given up, unless they already didn't believe in religion, in which case they probably think it's like aliens or something. But everybody else is very broken and upset because in their minds, in their very human minds, the idea is that, well, the rapture happened, and I didn't get taken. I'm not a good person. And so maybe there's a lot of bitterness in that. But he doesn't see it. And so he hears the thunder and he sees this emptiness and he sees people sort of roaming. And to him, the thunder itself, the storm on the way, doesn't beg a metaphor from his mind. It doesn't connect to anything else. It's literally just people having given up. But I think in most humans, would see a big empty town. They would see this idea of rapture, and the thunder sort of very calmly rumbling through that city would be uh, terrifying, probably terrifying. But he says that the difference between the rumble of the transport unit flying him away, and the difference between that sort of storm coming through the town, is human. And he's right. He's comparing the idea that, like, the rumble from the transport unit is thunder. It is the exact same thing. In this instance, it's nature, but the metaphorical sounds, those the meaning that we give to these noises, that's human. I think these things only have meaning because of that, because we're able to give them that. Hmm. I don't know. It's a story I really enjoy. Poem. It's going to become more, I know, but for right now, that's all it is. You know, it's gonna be crazy. Is if I die soon, you guys will have these videos, these like long, hour-long videos to just kind of hang out with me um, after I die. That's pretty interesting, huh? It's a way that I've never thought about streaming, and that could be a fun story as well. The story of like a, I don't know, just this depressed person who starts streaming and then like kills himself or something, and then the story like shifts perspective and takes place from the, I don't know, a significant other or like a family member who is just kind of stuck watching their videos, and then maybe we just twist it and turn it turn it into more horror, and they like start talking to them and like leaving them messages in the stream that weren't initially there when they first recorded it. I feel like that could be pretty cool. Maybe I think I'm talking to nobody right now, but sometimes that's the best way to talk, to keep yourself going, to figure out if you like something or not. So here's the next paragraph. So let's read this all together and see if it sounds any better, right? I remember riding down the road on a rainy day before I was old enough to have any interests of my own, and the song Riders on the Storm by The Doors was playing, because my dad really liked a theme. When it rained, he would play this or Rain Song by Led Zeppelin or anything else that felt that mood. If he was in a really excited mood, then maybe he would play harder rock and roll or metal. Maybe he would play hard rap if he was really energetic. My dad had a lot of moods, and music seemed to play into all of them. And this was something that grew on me. From a young age, my dad also introduced me to film. Away from the radio, I was still taking in art, and in film, there was even more music. The thing I picked up on immediately was that music set a mood. Music was used in film to, oops, excuse me, to heighten emotions already being portrayed by the actors, but it was also used to highlight emotions that may not be immediately present. For instance, if a bad guy was disguised as a good guy and we didn't know about it yet, the music might swell in a scene that otherwise feels innocuous and innocent. I was realizing that music and mood were almost one and the same, and as a young kid, that was a huge revelation for me. Fast forward a few years, and here I am now, thinking I fully understand the subtleties in which music can convey mood. Fully thrust into my job at Opera Omaha, I learned mood in a new way. In the ways classical music mixes with the presence of the stage to add even more. The dynamics of music and film are sometimes dramatic and overarching and intentional, but on the stage, there are elements that you just don't find in film. When watching a movie at the theater, we experience mood not just because of elements of orchestral music booming to heroic moments, but because of the sense of being a part of a group. The crowd is excited, and sometimes that excitement is so much a feeling, but a sense is not so much a feeling. Oh, I missed the word not. Crowd is excited, and sometimes that excitement is not so much a feeling, but a sensation that everyone experiences together. This is exacerbated when you watch a stage production that has a live orchestral score. Opera gets to be this mix of real people on stage, real people playing music, and real people experiencing all of this in real time. These elements together are capable of transcending mood and creating a space where we are allowed to something. I have not decided. Hey, all right. Noni, my fellow spicy sweet chili friend, she is going to bed. I hope that you enjoy creating dreams in your mind. And yeah, have a good time. Hopefully, you are able to get to bed quickly. Doritos in the chat for Noni. Doritos in the chat for Noni. Doritos in the chat for Noni. She going to bed, she don't hold me. Going to bed. All right. Good night, Noni. Enjoy your life in bed. Oh, God. That wasn't a COVID cough. That was just it's cold in here and my throat is dry cough. watch it. If any of you on my stream are still listening and you are interested, it looks like I just got a notification from Marvel Studios on YouTube, and the new Moon Knight trailer has just dropped. So if you're into Moon Knight, if you're into that character, I would definitely go check that out. I'll be checking that out once I'm done here in about an hour before I jump over to some games or something. Just to see what is going on. I'm excited as heck. I think that's going to be a really cool. I think it's going to be a really cool series, and Oscar Isaac is fucking incredible. So I think he's going to do a really great job with it. But yeah, Moon Knight trailer just dropped. Go watch it. Don't spoil it for me, you fucking jerks. I'm just kidding. You're not jerks. You're wonderful. You're beautiful people. Yeah. All right. Let's keep pushing through, my friends. Let's keep pushing through. I think I can finish this blog post before the night is over, or at least get to 1,000 words, and then just like edit it tomorrow and add the little bit that I have left. I think I'm about halfway there. Last I checked my word count, so there's not a lot to do. You know what I haven't done though? I haven't checked my calendar for tomorrow to see what the fuck I gotta do. Because there's a big chance that I'll keep on working this tomorrow morning. It's kind of due tomorrow morning, but I should be fine. So let's see. Huh. The first meeting I have isn't even until 10 o'clock, so that's pretty good. But that means I really do gotta wake up at 10 o'clock. Or I gotta wake up earlier than that and make sure that I'm in my meeting. But other than that, it doesn't look like I have anything else going on. Oh shit, I do have to finish. I totally forgot I was supposed to finish an outline for my curriculum for tomorrow. But we're not actually doing anything with the curriculum. I just totally forgot that I had to do it. So there's that. Hey, Sean. Sean, Ghetto Bread Box, you still on? I got a question for you. Well, throw something in the chat if you're still on, and I can ask you this question now. I hope everybody's making some headway, having a good time making things, creating things. Okay, let's read these 3 paragraphs all together and see how it's coming. I don't I don't know if I love it right now. I like the idea. I think I think I'm just kind of, I don't know, not as into it as I was hoping I would be. Um, okay, let's just see what it sounds like. We'll start at the beginning again. I think this first paragraph needs some work. I think it's a little wordy. I remember riding down on a rainy I remember riding down the road on a rainy day before I was old enough to have any interests of my own, and the song Riders on the Storm by the Doors was playing. My dad really liked the theme. When it rained, he would play this or Rain Song by Led Zeppelin. If he was in a really excited mood, then maybe he would play harder rock and roll or metal. Maybe he would play hard rap if he was really energetic. My dad had a lot of moods, and music seemed to play into all of them. And this was something that grew on me. From a young age, my dad also introduced me to film. Away from the radio, I was still taking in art, and in film, there was even more music. The thing I picked up on immediately was that music set a mood. Music was used in film to heighten emotions already being portrayed by the actors, but it was also used to highlight emotions that may not be immediately present. For instance, if a bad guy was disguised as a good guy and we didn't know about it yet, the music might swell in a scene that otherwise feels innocuous and innocent. I was realizing that music and mood were almost one and the same. As a young kid, that was a huge revelation for me. Fast forward a few years, and here I am now, thinking I fully understand the subtleties in which music can convey mood. Fully thrust into my job at Opera Omaha, I learned mood in a new way, in the ways classical music mixes with the presence of the stage to add even more. The dynamics of music in film are sometimes dramatic and overarching and intentional, but on the stage, there are elements that you just don't find in film. When watching a movie at the theater, we experience mood not just because of elements of orchestral music booming to heroic moments, but because of the sense of being a part of a group. The crowd is excited, and sometimes that excitement is not so much a feeling, but a sensation that everyone experiences together. This is exacerbated when you watch a stage production that has a live orchestral score. Opera gets to be this mix of real people on a stage, real people playing music, and real people experiencing all of this in real time. These elements together are capable of transcending mood and creating a space where we are allowed to feel a full spectrum of the human experience in mere minutes at a time. We feel the drama and tension of every moment because it moves with us, breathing and skipping heartbeats as it holds our hands through each scene. Working for KVNO has given me more insight in the way orchestral scores were composed, the sometimes years of work that went into making sure just one piece was absolutely perfect. The way that passion translates from page to stage and does the same thing to a room full of people as a full production could. As I read of these old masters honing their skills and being treated the way modern day pop stars are, I am reminded of the reason that music has this power over us. I start to see the way music on its own is a doorway to a space where you're allowed to feel. That's where I'm at now. Let's see what my word count is, because that will determine what what the next few paragraphs come up. So I'm a little over halfway. I'm having trouble with this. But I got about a half an hour. So let's see how much more we can pump out in 30 minutes. I think we got this. I think we got it. I think we could do it. I think I can write this essay on music. On music. No. You guys want to hear my impression of Nigel Thornberry? Yeah. Okay, you ready? This is Nigel Thornberry from the Wild Thornberries. This is my impression of Tim Curry. So here we go. That was it. That was good stuff, right? I think so. Whatever. Whatever, YouTube. You don't know anything. That's an interesting question that just popped into my mind. So throw this in the chat if you're listening. Which app would be smarter if you had to choose, right? Like between YouTube, like if you were to take the content that exists on each app and you were to use that as your metric for which app is smarter, what app would you think is the smartest? What app would you say is like the smartest app that is bound to have the most correct information on it and like the most intelligent people speaking? Uh, you know, I don't know if I would say YouTube. I don't know if I would say any of them honestly, because they all have. I feel like they all have a well, maybe Wikipedia. Although anybody can edit that. Although they do have people who look at that, but I don't know. I don't know what it would be. Sounds like a question for like a scientist group, a collective of people who study data on the internet. I'll run that by Noni and see what she says. We're almost at the 2 hours 30 mark, y'all. Almost at the 2 hours 30 mark. That's dope. Good job, everybody. Anybody who's still watching, who's still working on things, you're a fucking rock star. All right, we got about 20 minutes left. I think I'm doing pretty good. Doritos in the chat. I'm almost done, yo. I think I got one more paragraph, and then it should be above actually what the word count was supposed to be. But I think it sounds good. I think I'm gonna finish this last paragraph, and then tomorrow morning, since I have some time, I am going to edit it so I can sleep on it, see how I feel about it in the morning. Maybe it fucking sucks, or maybe it'll feel pretty damn good. I don't know. We'll see though. I'm gonna knock this last one out, and we'll read it out loud, see how we like it, maybe make a couple of little small edits, and then we'll be done for the night. Got 8 minutes, y'all. Although that doesn't mean that if you're working on things, you have to stop working on things. So, do what you want. Okay. Let me spell check this bitch, and then we will log off. Okay, like I said, y'all, let me do a final little spell check here and just get all these little mini errors out, and then I will read. And then probably on Wednesday, it'll be turned in by tomorrow. But on Wednesday, if you guys are um, willing to listen, if you're hanging out for the stream, I'll probably read it again and just see how it turned out. Okay. Very minor errors on the spell check tonight, which is probably a good thing. I feel like that's a good thing. Okay. So here's the final. Oh shit! Let's do the word count real quick and just see if I hit my goal. I want to say, if I did hit my goal, if I do have my word count fully set, that's dope because that means I scrapped an entire other fucking thing and I just wrote this all in one go. Not that it's like super crazy. Yeah, 1100. So I'm good. I think initially I was told the word count would be like 1500, uh, but that changed, I guess. So okay, sorry guys. Here we go. Shouldn't take too long to read, and then we will be done for the night. So, any of you who have been hanging out, thank you. I know I see like two viewers on here. I don't know if that's just like me and some other person who's not watching. But if you've stayed on the entire night, I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you for hanging. Go ahead and throw like a goodbye in the chat or some Doritos, whatever you'd like. Okay, so here we go. YouTube, Twitch. This is the blog post. Again, it might change tomorrow. This is just it for now. This is the final. This is the first draft, and then tomorrow I'll make it a final draft. So here we go. I remember riding down the road on a rainy day before I was old enough to have any interests of my own, and the song Riders on the Storm by The Doors was playing. My dad liked the theme. Instead, oh, whoops. My dad liked the theme. When it rained, he would play this or Rain Song by Led Zeppelin. And if he was in a really excited mood, then maybe he would play harder rock and roll or metal. Maybe he would play harder rap if he was really energetic. My dad had a lot of moods, and music seemed to play into all of them. And this was something that grew on me. From a young age, my dad also introduced me to film. Away from the radio, I was still taking in art, and film was there even more than music. And film was and in film, there was even more music. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Um, there was even more music. The thing I picked up on immediately was that music set a mood. Music was used in a film to heighten emotions already being portrayed by the actors, but it was also used to highlight emotions that may not be immediately present. For instance, if a bad guy was disguised as a good guy and we didn't know about it yet, the music might swell in a scene that otherwise feels innocuous and innocent. I was realizing that music and mood were almost one and the same. As a young kid, that was a huge revelation for me. Fast forward a few years, and here I am now, thinking I fully understand the subtleties in which music can convey mood. Fully thrust into my job at Opera Omaha, I learned mood in a new way, in the ways classical music mixes with the presence of the stage to add even more. The dynamics of music and film are sometimes dramatic and overarching and intentional, but on the stage, there are elements that you just don't find in film. When watching a movie at the theater, we experience mood not just because of elements of orchestral music booming to heroic moments, but because of the sense of being a part of a group. The crowd is excited, and sometimes the excitement is not so much a feeling, but a sensation that everyone experiences together. This is exacerbated when you watch a stage production that has a live orchestral score. Opera gets to be this mix of real people on a stage, real people playing music, and real people experiencing all of this in real time. These elements together are capable of transcending mood and creating a space where we are allowed to feel a full spectrum of the human experience in mere minutes at a time. We feel the drama and tension of every moment because it moves with us, breathing and skipping heartbeats as it holds our hands through each scene. Working for KVNO has given me even more insight on the way orchestral scores were composed, the sometimes years of work that went into making sure just one piece was absolutely perfect. The way that passion translates from page to stage and does the same thing to a room full of people as a full production could. As I read of these old masters honing their skills and being treated the way modern day pop stars are, am reminded of the reason that the music has this power over us. I start to see the way music on its own is a doorway to a space where you are allowed to feel. As I explored this idea in my everyday life, this is what I realized music does differently than most mediums alone. It allows us to feel things. Even if we see an image and we understand what it conveys, sometimes music can open us up to the possibility that the image we're seeing is really meant to be interpreted differently. Maybe an image of a woman standing alone with a bunch of groceries waiting for a bus makes us think one way. Perhaps in this image, we are trained to think the woman is struggling and unhappy. But if someone adds the right music, maybe we begin to see this woman is actually grateful and proud to be on her own, taking care of herself. Music makes most scenes different. It changes our perspectives and allows us to feel a different way. Most music can make us feel, and the more words in a song, the more obvious the feeling is, which is why classical music and orchestral scores are top tier when it comes to allowing us to feel new things. We are immersed in sound that has no obvious direction. Instead, our brain is forced to use all its power, pulling from past experiences and our personal histories. Our mind determines what sounds feel what way. All of this is just to say that music has so much power. Classical music can challenge us to feel something through every spectrum of human emotion without ever saying a word. And even when music has words, our brains can still interpret this differently than others. We are incredible creatures driven by emotion, finding new ways to feel things and new things to feel every day. Art gets to be the catalyst, the primer to an explosion of emotion that builds empathy and sympathy, that exposes us to the experiences of others. Art gives us the opportunity to tap into a small modicum of the emotion felt on earth. We can safely step into someone else's shoes and understand what other people experience on a daily basis. And all of it is sparked by an instrument. A piece of wood or metal, a thin string plucked just so, a stick smacking a stretched out piece of leather, a simple tool opens entire worlds up for us, takes our pain away, or helps us understand someone else's life for just a moment at a time. I have always been a proponent of the idea that art is capable of changing lives. Organizations like KVNO, like Opera Omaha, like the other places that help us create and bring creative things to all the communities in the world are doing the most important work possible. They are giving people, especially now in a time when feeling things is so constant and almost always negative, a way to experience the good in other people's lives. When the world is filled with news that hurts, that seems to always get worse, we have art to pull us from despair and remind us of the hope it took to create something beautiful. Art reminds us that the world can never be too dark so long as it exists, to shine lights in those dark corners left forgotten and make them places we can come together to drive away that darkness for good. I don't think that's too bad. I think I'm going to hate it in the morning when I come back to it. So we will see. We'll see how that feels. But I don't hate it. I don't think that that's the worst thing in the world. So yeah, I think that's not too bad. Okay. Well, that's it then. That is the end of my stream, my friends. I thank you all, anybody who joined up for hanging out with us, anybody who is going to watch this afterwards, after the stream has ended and it is saved somewhere. I appreciate you. I thank you. I hope that you all have a great night. I hope that whenever you're watching this, you're having a good day. And remember to love yourself because nobody can love you quite like you can. This is Fernando signing off from my live stream. I'll talk to you guys later. It has been a lot of fun.